The learning Zili Nishmas Etta Ahuva Basakim Mesechus Kerisus Perek Vav Mishnah Beis Asham Vadai Einikein. That which we learned the three stages in the prior Mishnah by an Asham Toli, it would not apply by an Asham Vadai. And now we're going to explain the differences. So in the three stages, there's a difference. Im ad shaloi nishchad, in the first stage, when you found out before the shchita that you did not need to bring an Asham Vadai. Let's say you found out that you didn't do the Aveira of Milah, so there's no reason to bring the Asham Vadai. So then, Yetze V'yir Be'eder. Even the Chachamim and Rabbi Eliezer in the last Mishnah that held, Rabbi Eliezer held you bring Asham Toli B'chol Yom, so that's for sure not negayed. Even the Chachamim that held over there that it was Yir Ad She'yistav, because we said the Svara was that Mitoich Shalibay Noikvei Goymer Magdish, that's only by an Asham Toli. By an Asham Vadai, it doesn't make sense. Everyone's going to be masking to Rameir that it's Yetze V'yir Be'eder, that the Hektish was totally betois, and therefore you could put it with your regular tzayin. It's like chulin gemurin. The second stage, mishen nishchat harezeh yikaver. If you found out after you already did the shchita, so then it's a carbon puzzle. So the halach is harezeh yikaver, that it needs kvura. So this seems different than the Mishnah before, because in the Mishnah before we said it's yotza lebeis hasreifa. So the Gemara asked this question. One teretz in the Gemara is that it's a machlokes tanoim tavra mishishan nazu loishan nazu. But Rabbah says that there's a chilik between Asham Vadai and Asham Toli. He says Asham Vadai al Asham Toli karamis. He's asking me a question from Asham Vadai to Asham Toli. I know this is another chilik between the last Mishnah and this Mishnah, because the last Mishnah was talking about an Asham Toli. And our Mishnah is talking about Asham Vadai. By Asham Vadai, kivin the late tzarech leile magdishli. Since at the end of the day you didn't need it, so you're not magdish it. So then you do kvura. But Asham Tali miteich shalibay noikvei goymer magdish. So therefore, it's not like regular chulin shenishchu tu ba'azara, where over there the halacha would be that it's tain kvura, but rather it's like kachim that ir behem psul, that a psul happened to it, and you mechuyev to burn it in the Azara. Now Taisus explains that afagav the Rameir lesle liboy noikvei gomer magdish. We said the Rameir doesn't hold with this svara. So Taisus hainu dafka koidim shchita. That's before you shechted it. But once you shechted it, then Rameir is also going to hold that at that point he's gomer beliboy magdisha, and therefore it's tain sreifa. Now the third case of the Mishnah is nizer kadam. Once it's already after the zrika, and now you found out that you were not supposed to bring this carbon, so because it's talking about Asham Vadai over here, as opposed to the last Mishnah was Asham Tali, so you did everything with Kashrusa. Taka was supposed to bring Asham Tali if you're not sure, and once the Zrika is done, the carbon's over, and you did everything correctly. So then over there, the halacha was Ya'achal. But by Asham Vadai, it turns out you were not supposed to bring a carbon, so everything was done incorrectly. Then Habasa Yatzal the Beis HaSeifa, the Basar is Yatzal the Beis HaSeifa. And again, the Gemara asks, now it's a stira from one line to the next line. Mishnah before said Harezeh Yikaver, and now you're saying it's Yatzal the Beis HaSreifa. So over here the Gemara says Havadai Tavra Mishashana L'Lashana is over here. It's for sure Machlokes Tanan. But Rabbi Ashi answers even over here. The vart is that the Seifa, once it's already the Zrika is done, then it's Mishum the Mischazi Kezevach Pasal. Then it looks like a carbon that was Pasal, and therefore the halach is that you're going to need Sreifa. But in the Reisha where it was Shechten and there was no Zrika, so then you could say it's Yikaver, because since the Zrika wasn't done, it doesn't look so much like a Zevach Pasal. The Mishnah continues with two other halachas. Shar Haniskel Einikim. By Shar Haniskel, Shar that was Nogach and is Mechuyev Skila, and then we found out that it wasn't really Mechuyev Skila, either because we found out that it never killed a yid, or the Edom became Edom Zoymim. So it depends at what point you found it out. Imad Shalin Nitzkel, if it was before the skila, so it comes out this animal's regular chulin, Yetzev Yer Be'eder. Everyone agrees to that. Mishen Nitzkel, once it was already after the skila, so then it got skila b'tois, so it doesn't have halacha of a shar nitzkel, which is also rana. Rather, it's mutter ba'ana. And the last halacha is by egla rufa, is also einikin. If we thought that an animal is an egla rufa, and then we found out that for whatever reason it wasn't an egla arufa, so imad shalina erfa, so it's regular chulin gemulin, teitzev eter be'eder. But once you already did the arifas ha'egla, so then tikaver b'mekoyma shal safik ba mitchila kipra sveika v'holchala. So over here it's similar to Asham Tali, where it was ba al safik in the first place. So since b'shatz you did the arifa, it was still a safik, and you only found that afterwards. So it has the halacha of egla arufa that it's going to be aser bahana, and therefore you have to bury it over there. The Chaim Kanievsky in the Sefer Nachal Esan asks the question that there was no Amiras Hazakenim over here. So you see from here that l'chayra that you don't need the Zakenim to say their memra, and Afal Pikein, the animal is going to be Asur Bano. He also says the Nachal is going to be Asur B'Zriya V'Aveda. However, the Minchas Chinuch is mistapik if the Amiras HaParsha is Ma'akev. So the question is why there's no raya from this Mishnah that it's not Ma'akev, since we're saying over here that it's Tikavar B'Mekoima. Mishnah Gemor Rabbi Eliezer Omer, which we already quoted earlier, Misnadav Adam Asham Tole B'Chol Yom B'Chol Shehiyirtze. He holds that a person could always bring an Asham Tole, as the Gemara explains. Actually, one last thing in the last Mishnah, just the Gemara brings a raya from our Mishnah, that at least the Tana of our Mishnah held that the Arifa is the thing that Asas Ba'ana, as opposed to, there's a different Tana that holds, and Amoira, when the Gemara comes out at the end, there's Machlekes Tanoim that holds that Nachal Esan, you read Dusel and Nachal Esan, Hi Yisrasa, so then it'll be Asar Bana even before the whole situation. So Mishnah Gimel says, so the Gemara explains that Rabbi Eliezer held that it has to be the Asham Tali is an Adava, because if it was a Chiyuv, so how come when you find out at the end of the day that you did the Avera, do you bring a Chatas, you already did your Chiyuv, you already brought your Asham Tali. So must be, it's an Adava, and therefore, Misnadev Adam Asham Tali B'chol Yom. Amru Allah Baba Ben Bute, and this Tana holds like Rabbi Eliezer, except that it has to be Ba Al Chet. That what Misnadev Asham Tali B'chol Yom Chutz Mi'achar Yom Kippurim Yom Echad. The day after Yom Kippur, where for sure there was no Avera, he wouldn't bring it. Amar Amoin Azel Lashon Shvua Ilu Hayu Menichin Li Hayu. Maybe I would bring even then. Al Oimrim Li Hatamat Shetikanis L'Safek. Let's wait at least till there's a Safek Avera. Chachamim will argue and say, "Ei Mevim Asham Tali Al Davish is Deinei Karis Sheshegas Echatas." I can't just bring a carbon Asham Tali B'chol Yom. It has to be that there was a Safek Chatas.